Very good evening to all of you. You don't need me that close up. There you go. That's much better. Okay. This is just a Q&A session. I know we had a transmission on Sunday. I did a kind of I don't know what I call it, a lecture, a workshop, something or another on Monday night, Tuesday night. And you had the full council meeting yesterday evening. So I wanted to give an opportunity to you people who help pay for my lights and keep me going to fire away, ask me any questions you want about anything that's come out over the last week or so, and I will endeavour my best to answer it. So really it's that sort of a session. So fire away, type in a question, and I will work my way through them. I met Gary Tarbuck earlier. I was in Oldham town centre. Went for my breakfast. I fancied a day out in the sunshine. And Gary came along and we just talked football most of the time. But fire away. That doesn't... That doesn't help, and that doesn't help, I'm afraid. So you'll have to ask away or share comments and share observations. This is because I've not been able to interact with you in the way I want to, because we've had a lot on. And when I was doing the workshop in front of that blue board across in my living room, it just isn't the sort of format where I can react and respond to you whilst I'm trying to work through a complicated sequence of events. So okay, let's start with that. So what happened last night on public questions, and you've got to start analysing all of it to make any sense of any of it. And you all know public questions is limited to 15 minutes. And they are very, very, very strict on that, as Debbie Barrett-Cole found out 2 years ago. So, last night, the last question asked within the time frame was Gary Tarbuck's question, actually. And the 15 minutes were up. And the question next in sequence, because we got this information from the council prior to the meeting, was a question submitted by Robert Barnes, the Chadderton South candidate. And technically that should not have been asked. But what they did, and if you watch that back at that point, and it's about 57 minutes in to the council meeting on YouTube, so about 57 minutes in, and you'll see it. The borough solicitor says something, so that Paul Entwistle sat to Jenny Harrison's right, says something to the mayor, Jenny Harrison. And what she does is she skips Robert Barnes' question, which is against the council constitution. And she reads out the question that basically is Wilby's question attacking me. So that's what happened. What you clearly saw was Oldham Council operating outside of their own rule book to attack and harass me, and Paul Entwistle had her asked that question. Remember, Paul Entwistle is under investigation for leaking information, private information, from me to the council, with which Wilby attacked me with. So you can see that two events took place, two incidents took place that shouldn't have. First of all, they went over the 15 minutes so they could get Wilby's question in, but actually it wasn't Wilby's question that was due to be asked next in the sequence. It was Robert Barnes' question. So the council broke their own rules to exclude Robert Barnes. This is a council that covers up the grooming and gang rape of our children. So what did you expect them to do there? So that's that one. She got under 1,000 votes. It was 900 and something votes she got, Anita. And that's what she got in Chadderton South. And last time, Robert Barnes lost with about 1,100 or 1,200 to win that election. To win that ward, I would want to be taking 1,250 votes. That's my opinion on it. I would want to be taking 1,250 votes. He got about 1,000 last time, give or take. So he needs 200 votes. No, not the way it works, David, I'm afraid. And even if there was, this Conservative Party wouldn't. It's led by a man called, who is it, Graham Sheldon? Graham Sheldon. He hasn't got the bottle. You've seen him in the council meetings. He hasn't got the bottle, David. And do you know what his concern was? With Sahar Abid stepping down, full stop, as a councillor, the Conservatives are no longer the joint opposition. So the impact that has on Sheldon is he is now a year £14,000 out of pocket if it carried on like that, because that's what he would have been getting as his allowance for being the leader of the opposition. So that's that. Yeah, there always is, Anita. There always is. Well, you know what I'm going to do, Steve? In post-May, I'm going to submit, because I can play this game all day long, I'm going to submit 5 questions in a row, 6 questions in a row for every council meeting. I know when the council thing's open. And I'm going to submit 5, 6, 7 questions in a row. All relevant. So, What can you do about what, Lynn? The questions? Nothing. Normally what would happen with someone who waves a press badge around the place is the press have a different way of asking questions directly to the council press office, the communications team. And you will see that journalists do not ask or submit public questions. But what's taking place is Neil Wilby is effectively the Labour Party stooge, is the Labour Party attack dog. You've all seen Jim McMahon engage with him openly. You've all seen Arud Shah engage with him openly. You've seen a whole host of Royton Labour Party politicians last week engage with him openly. He's there as their attack dog to attack me and to attack members of the public, of the town, who dare speak out against corruption in this town. Because he's a journalist is a reason why he shouldn't be allowed to ask questions, Lynn. Not a reason why he should be allowed to ask questions. The press have a different mechanism through which they ask questions. In fact, it's something Charlotte Green, who does the press bit at the council meetings, and I'm not a fan of Charlotte's, but it's something she herself raised. This is not how the press should operate. The press should not be exploiting public questions to promote their agenda. But this man is just a disgrace, isn't he? So what else do you expect? No, they avoided that. They skipped that. And the borough solicitor's responsible. And if I was the Conservatives, or if I was Roberts, I'd write and ask for an explanation. And I would complain. I'd write for an explanation and I would complain. Or Wilbur's question, he wanted to know what was going to be done to me, because the Conservatives had been leaking me information, according to what he'd said. So what will be done to me, and what will be done to the Conservatives who are leaking me information? Now, listen to this. This is Neil Wilby, who, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, has been exposed for leaking information. The borough solicitor has been exposed for leaking information. Arud Shah Jim McMahon, a whole host of other councillors, and he has the audacity to say what will be done to punish me or punish anyone who's leaking information to me. So I thought it was like something out of a comedy sketch. Is what I genuinely thought it was. But who cares? He's just a fucking distraction. Who cares? You've got an election to win. You've got votes. You've got campaigning to do. Who cares what that dickhead does? Ignore him. I don't know why you... And I'm picking on you here, Anita. I'm picking on you. I don't know why you're so focused with this dickhead. Ignore him. His job is to distract you. His job is to annoy you. His job is to wind you up. Ignore him. You just ignore him. The only way he wins is if the Labour Party politicians, particularly Arud Shah, stays in power. He's clearly on the payroll somewhere, isn't he? So just ignore him. Have you seen him on Twitter? Have you seen him on have you seen the engagement he gets or the lack of engagement he gets? So I just ignore the guy. They get them, David. They do get them. And they're fully aware of what's going on in this town. It's only a matter of time before something happens. It's only a matter of time. I'd keep writing, and I keep writing again, and I keep writing again. That's what I'd do. It's what I've been on. Look, it's been 3 years whilst we've been doing what we've been doing. We're fighting the system. We're fighting a corrupt Greater Manchester police force that have covered up the grooming and gang rape of our children. We're fighting a corrupt council. And at best, we're fighting an ambivalent Conservative Party who would have been in like a shot had this been a traditional Tory area. But it isn't. I can't choose the hand I'm dealt. I've just got to play it the best way I can. And that's why we're doing this the way we are. Evening, Lee. I was meant to have a coffee with Lee on Monday, I think, but I was double booked to it with my haircut, so I never got out in time. And then if that's the case, Anita, why on earth are you wasting your time and winding yourself up and making yourself ill? I've said this to all of you all of the time, repeatedly. The only people who are going to save this town is ourselves. The only people who are going to save this town is ourselves. The government will come in when we've already won. When we've essentially already won. I'm sure you want the leaflets out, Lucy. I'm sure you want the leaflets out. So come and help me deliver them. Come and help me deliver them. It's what I've said to all of you over all of this with the leaflets, and I've got them. I've picked them up. The issue with the leaflets has been that the likelihood is that they will try and have me arrested and put in prison. So it's not that straightforward for me. I had to jump through a whole host of hoops to make sure. And even then, the likelihood is I'll be arrested once I put those leaflets out. And I'm willing to put those leaflets out, and I will put the leaflets out. So by all means, message me afterwards, and any of you message me afterwards, and come and help me deliver the leaflets. Straightforward. Would it be worth trying to unify? I don't know. No. You've got no chance, Gary. You've got no chance. These are Labour Party strongholds. The only reason why it's different here than in Keighley or Rotherham or Rochdale is because of the work we're doing. What we're effectively saying, Gary, is it's not enough to hear the victim's story and for them to admit that it was covered up. We want those who are responsible to be held to account. And that's why Oldham has the potential to be a watershed moment if we can get it over the line. No, because of the rules, Julie, I have to put the political leaflets. So there's certain things you've got to do, and my name's on them. My name's on the leaflets, and that's just because of the way it is. It doesn't matter. I'm not overtly concerned if I get arrested or put in prison. I genuinely aren't. You just need to understand that it's not as straightforward as, Raja, go and print some leaflets and let's get them out. Because a corrupt police force arrested me and are trying to intimidate me. They were intimidating me this week. They're writing to me from anonymous email address without a police officer's name or badge number or phone number, essentially threatening me. I've written back to them and I'm still waiting to hear. You've got to understand the police are not neutral in this. The police are bent. They've covered up the grooming and gang rape. They're complicit. They're complicit. No, David, there's a sequence of leaflets. And again, you're just going to have to... You're going to have to trust me that I know what I'm doing with the leaflets, providing I can get them out, because there's a sequence of leaflets. You don't just do one leaflet. You try and do 2 or 3 and time it in with a social media campaign and dovetail it with what the Conservatives are doing or what Robert's doing at the same time. So you've got to... It's not just as straightforward. It was a bombshell moment, wasn't it, Steve? It was a bombshell moment. Oh, I don't mind, Julie. I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. I'm curious, genuine curious. No judgment, curious. How many of you have worked on a campaign? How many of you have done an election campaign or been involved in an election campaign where you work backwards from the date of the election and know what the steps are? Because if you have, by all means, share with me and help me. There's 28 sort of areas. So we've split that up. There's 28 routes in South Chadderton to do. There's 5,000, give or take, homes between the 28. And in an ideal world, you'd set off with one banging leaflet and 2 more. And then something right last minute, just before the election, plus a social media campaign. Yeah, I saw, Gary, and I felt for you. Because you were on your own in many ways. And how many leaflets did you get out, Gary? I mean, was it just a 1? Was it 2, 3, 4? Yeah, see, kinda, yeah. So ideally, what you'd have. And the Conservatives haven't done this for reasons they only know, because they're wealthy. And my experience only is in Labour Party fighting, where we've, as a Labour Party member, where I've gone and fought. What we would have done is we would have hired a shop front as a campaign headquarters where we target a ward or a seat. It doesn't matter. It's always the same. We'd have hired a shop front that's manned every day up to the election. In the evenings in that shop front, there would be meetings. People could bring concerns. The candidate would be there. And during the days, there'd be a big map on the wall. There'll be a range of leaflets ready, and a combination of local volunteers, people from elsewhere in the town or even outside of the town, and prominent members of the party would all work together relentlessly, bang, 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 every day. That's what would happen. And that's how you win elections. I think you can see here, it's not how it operates. It's just lazy politics. It's just lazy politics here. In an ideal world, I would have one set of leaflets delivered straight away in one day. 12 of us would do 2 rounds each, kind of, and we'd get rid of, it's something like 200 houses a round, and you'd get them done in just over, close to a day, morning and half an afternoon. You'd get them done in. But that's what you'd do. I was speaking with Montaz earlier, and I was urging him to rent a shop. He was looking at a shop on somewhere in Coldest. I said, if you want to win, rent a shop, because what you do is you create a movement. You do what we've done here, essentially in a very tight, compact space, in a very quick amount of time. You go and say, here I am, here is the base for Robert Barnes, at Montaz, Azad, and local people, external, internal, strategists, old, young, they're there. I've not, some people have volunteered and asked, but my intention is probably to go out on Sunday, Lynn. Because they go out on Sundays, don't they? They go out leafleting on a Sunday, so I'd probably want to go out on a Sunday. But it doesn't matter how many people I have. It matters how many people want to volunteer. Because I'll get the leaflets out, even if it means I walk around on my own. I'll post the leaflets. But ideally, he'd just do them in one hit. Oh, next month. So, and we'll see what happens. The trial won't happen this side of the elections. There's just no way. The trials. So, let's see what that brings. I'm not at all concerned by it or focused on it, because that's what they want. It's exactly what I said to Anita earlier about Wilby. You can't get distracted by things that aren't important, because that's what, the court case, my arrest, is an attempt to distract me and demoralise me and prevent me from effectively campaigning, which is my democratic right. So, there's 37 of you here. 38 of you here. So, speak with Gary. Meet me on a Sunday morning. And we'll get them out. Brilliant. We'll get them out. And you're all invested. We're all invested. Instead of, and I mean this with the greatest of respect to every one of you, instead of wasting your time 2 hours on this, or getting yourself wound up by what the Oldham Times has said or not said, you can. The only way we're going to change this town, as you saw yesterday, is by changing the people that lead this town. And the only way we change the people that lead this town is by deselecting them and electing better people. It's why they hate me, because I genuinely believe in democracy. We'll win this not by being angry. We'll win this not by being racist or leftist or whatever. We'll win this by encouraging people to go out and vote and educating them on how to vote and who to vote for. So yes, please, any help, just speak with Gary. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Gary will coordinate it. Just bring a bag. We'll meet on a Sunday morning and I'll have the route maps with me and I'll see you, I'll see how we go. Too late now. And I wouldn't want to. Yesterday's council meeting, what I found cowardly, really, was Graham Sheldon, when he'd been put on the spot about Conservatives working with me. And, he's like, oh, I've spoke to everyone here. No one's done it. No one's responsible. It's what I find really cowardly about that is, so what if we've been working with him? That's what I'd be saying. Sorry, if it was the other way around and I was leader of the Conservatives and some bloke had come along and risked his life, I'd be saying, so what if we've been working with him? Which bit is unlawful? What have we specifically said to him that we shouldn't have? But he's a coward. Which is why the Saddleworth Conservatives are such a pushover. Yeah. What I'll do beforehand, Gary, is print them out and put, divvy up the number of leaflets roughly to the routes, and we'll take it from there. It's just a double-sided A4 leaflet to start with. There's 2 more scheduled. And then the last one, if you can get 1 more out just before the election, will be what you tend to do is gauge, the opinion where you're the strongest, you're the weakest, where you need to get the vote out, and you target accordingly. What happened? And Teresa, I did try and send. I have tried to reply to you, by the way. You've sent me a few messages, and I have tried to reply, and it won't send to you. So you must have blocked me at your end or something. You'll have done something on Messenger at your end, I'm afraid, because my attempts to reply to you don't seem to get through to you. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. If you're wondering why I've not replied, it's because I have replied, but they just never get through to you. So you'll have blocked me, or you'll have done something. You'll have pressed something on your side. You missed the admission that the council had covered up the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. I've not made that up. You missed the admission of that. What I found interesting about what the Lib Dems did in that room is they asked the question first on it, if you remember. And he and Arud Shah point blank refused to answer elements of the question that were very specific, because it's what I've said to you before. They know that they know the rules, protocols of the council meetings. If you look at the council meetings, the ones that are organised consistently are the Liberal Democrats. And what he asked specifically, and she refused to answer, which is an answer in itself, is that the Newsman and Ridgway's team report to a committee of sorts. And he asked if that committee had been involved in the decision to delay publication of the report. She refused to answer that, which means no, the committee hadn't been. The second element of the question he asked was specific to why an interim report or a progress report hadn't been published. All of what he talked about is, sorry, I'm pointing towards the bit of my living room where the blue board is, where I did that presentation the other night, was drawn from, or similar to those issues that I raised. An interim report should have been published, or a report should have been published there and then to say, this is where we're up to, this is what we've done. We now recommend a full and thorough investigation, because remember, the terms of reference were set by the council. And it was called an assurance review. And the premise was that this ethnic is making it up and he's working with a bunch of far-right activists. And we're all a bunch of liars. I'm sorry if I had your Facebook account shut down, so that's why I've not been able to respond to you. Okay. And if you saw how the meeting progressed, when the motion came along, Sam Al-Hamdani was attempting to play both sides. And whilst he was attempting to play both sides, him and his colleagues, you need to watch the meeting back and you'll see, if you guys understand body language and how all of that operates, just have a look back. And you'll see them looking at each other, the likes of Gloucester and the others looking at each other. And what they were doing was reading the mood in the room. They went into that room not sure whether they were going to vote with the Labour lot, whether they were going to abstain, or whether they were going to support the Conservatives motion. And they read the mood in the room. And in self-preservation style, they supported the Conservatives motion. So what do you mean by that, Sue? This should be about the victims. So expand on that. I'd like to think these Thursdays, when we meet like this, I can learn from you as well, or I can understand your opinions better. So what should it be about the victims? He's a politician. That's how I read it, John, whilst he was trying to work out the mood of the room. And remember, the Lib Dems They are responsible, co-responsible. Whilst this grooming gag inquiry was going on and they were, Fielding was shouting barefaced lies, one of the councillors was a convicted child sex offender that they'd kept it hidden. And so we're clear, Gary. I'm not a member of any party. Stand. We need decent people to stand. I don't care if you stand for Labour, if you stand for Liberal Democrats, if you stand for the Conservatives, if you stand for as an independent, FIP, proud of, whoever you want to stand for. We need decent people to come forward. Did you all get your names took when you signed in? Those of you who went to the council meeting, did you get your names taken? It's actually a GDPR issue. You shouldn't. If they've collected your names, they've got to tell you what they've collected your personal data. If you want to mess them about, which is what I'd do, I'd write to the borough solicitor wanting to know what he's done with my data. He took my name. On what basis? On what part of it, the council's authority allows them to take the names, ask them to ask a direct question. Please signpost me to where in the council's constitution you're allowed to take my name for me to enter a public council meeting. And secondly, what have you done with my data? Because remember, you're leaking like a sieve. How do you know, and I said this with all seriousness, how do you know that list of names hasn't been handed over to Neil Wilby? They shouldn't be taking names. It's intimidation is what it is. The background to this, remember, of taking names is Sean Fielding, in his official capacity as leader of Oldham Council, wrote to the employers of people who raised concerns trying to have them sacked. I agree with you, Steve. I think Paul Bentwhistle will have leaked the data. 100% agree with you. Bentwhistle's career is now reliant on a corrupt Labour administration keeping control of the town. Dennis Burke is saying the link to tonight's Q&A is not working. Well, it seems to. I'm sorry, Dennis. I'll have to message you back, but you all got the link, didn't you? Via yeah. That's how you're here, yeah. No. It's a lie. So was the risk assessment to determine it's for fire reasons. This council is just neck deep in lies. Deceit. Yeah, I don't know what Dennis is on about. I'll drop him a message and say I did a Q&A and everyone else got on with the link, so I'm not sure why he would have struggled. No, I think what happened with that was he just copied it off the internet. I don't think anyone gave it him. He just copied it off. Who posted? Gary posted it. I commented on it. No, he didn't, did he? Brian Hobin did do well. He asked about the leaking of information to Wilby, and she wouldn't say anything, would she? Bear in mind, she'd been openly engaging with Wilby on Twitter this week. They just don't want you at the council meetings. There's no need to get angry over it or angst over it. You know what? So it's a game for them. They want you to get wound up. They want you to get angry, and they don't want you to go back next time. That's all that is. I'm disappointed in the opposition councillors not raising it as a point of order or raising it as a concern. That members of the public are being searched, body scanned, the bags, on what basis? These perspex screens put up. And, as we've now found out, COVID restrictions are lifted, but the council are still insisting on, and this is a woman called Elizabeth Drogan, utter scum, in charge of constitutional services, as bent as the others. Blonde, posh-looking white woman in the middle. You saw her sat at the front on the end. That's who she is. As bent as any of them. She's the sort of woman, and I said this to Gary earlier, I'd happily put her in my car, drop her off in the middle of Glodick on a one night, and let her see for herself what she's propping up. But these are the people who need to be marched out. And unfortunately, sadly, they want to play nice. All of our opposition still want to play nice. We know the Lib Dems are in the pockets. FIP are getting better. But, Graham Sheldon's not going to stand up for the town. There to scare you. There to scare you. All the opposition apart from Afzal voted against, and every Labour Party councillor and Aftab, the independent from Glodick, voted for. So that's how it went. Every Liberal Democrat voted in favour of the motion. Every FIP voted in favour of the motion. Every Conservative voted in favour of the motion. But the Labour have the numbers, don't they? She did that on purpose. She didn't want people online to hear the heckling and the anger. And there was a couple of times when the chief executive reached over and pressed it. That's dirty Harry Caffrell. Yeah, it's just a lie, see? Sheila, it's just a lie. I mean, she's just awful, isn't she? The last one was awful. Ginny Alexander. Now, Ginny Alexander won't stand again because she knows she's going to get hammered. That council meeting, half of it went on ages and ages, at the beginning, because they were all eulogizing over each other who were standing down or had lost their seats. You can tell she treats him with contempt, and you can see the way she speaks to these councillors. He did worse than that, mate. He told the people to shush as they were sharing their dismay at the admission that our children have been groomed and gang raped. That bloke needs to be grabbed by the scruff of his neck and marched back to Blackburn. That's what needs to happen to Harry Caffrell. But was the Conservative, was this? Because you know what I'd say? Sorry, if I was in that council meeting, I'd look at, say, Elizabeth Droken, Paul Bentwhistle, Harry Caffrell. As soon as we get in, we call in the government in to investigate corruption in this town, and all three of you will be reported. That's what I'd say. We're going to force a criminal investigation into the running of this town, and all of you will be reported. Yeah, that's the one. They were a husband and wife councillor team. Okay, I'm going to, unless you've got any more questions, I'm going to go, because I said I'll do a 9 minutes past 9 thing. Just on Facebook, on the Facebook page, I'll message back Dennis and a few others and say, well, I'm sorry every week we have this, I'm afraid, with, not Dennis, but with some people I can't help you, I'm afraid. I do send the links out, and I'm on the basis that if most of you get on, then, it's the same link that goes to everyone. So I'll try harder next time. Any last questions? The strategist in me watched that council meeting and was 100% satisfied with everything that took place in that meeting, because we will use it against them in the lead up to the election. We'll use every element of that council meeting against them. Please, Sunday is my plan. Speak with Gary if any of you can and will. Let's go and deliver some leaflets, and we'll see what happens. I'll see you all in a few minutes on the Facebook page. Okay, bye.